I'm gonna deal with what I got. I'm sorry to interrupt, ma'am, but I'm not so sure that's true. A new voice spoke up. As everyone turned away from Riley, they found a man standing in the doorway. He appeared to be in his late Middle Ages, with graying hair that had gone white at the temples and an equally white mustache. He wore a dark blue sports coat over brown slacks and a salmon-colored button-up shirt. A red ascot was wrapped around his neck, while a pair of yellow-tinted aviator sunglasses obscured his eyes. He wore a pair of fine leather shoes, while a gold wedding band sat on the ring finger of his left, and a pinky ring on his right. As Riley looked the man over, a feeling of recognition tangled in the back of her mind. "Wait a minute," Joy whispered. "Isn't that—" "Dad!" Fred exclaimed happily as he ran over to the man and embraced him. "How are you, son?" Stanley questioned as he returned the hug, before taking a step back and giving Fred an approving look. "It's good to see you." "When did you get back?" Fred asked with a large grin. "Just a little while ago," the man explained. "Your mother and I started heading back as soon as we heard what had happened. Heathcliff was able to tell us where you'd be." "Excuse me, sir," Bill said as he turned to face the man, giving him a puzzled look. "I don't believe we met." "I am sorry. How terribly rude of me." Stanley replied before he offered his hand. "Stanley Lieber, though my friends call me Stan." "I'm calling you Stan Lee because that's who you are. The man behind Marvel Comics, and the man who inspired decades and even generations of heroes. A man who was sadly taken from us a short while ago." "Lieber?" Bill questioned, his expression turning to shock as he shook the offered hand. "As in the Lieber Technology Group?" "That's the one," Stan answered with a chuckle. "It's good to finally meet you, Bill. Can I call you Bill?" "Of course, Mr. Bill began to say before a thought occurred to him. "Wait a minute, how do you know my name?" "I try to keep informed about everyone in Fred's life," Stan answered as he turned towards the others, "especially his friends." With that, Stan fell silent for a moment as he gave the group an appraising look. "Now tell me," Stan began thoughtfully, "do you prefer your real names, or those ridiculous nicknames my son has given you?" The question caught the group off guard for a moment, before they all let out amused chuckles as a small grin spread across Stan's features. "I'd have to say they've grown on us," Gogo replied with a smirk. "I'm sorry," Jill interrupted, bringing everyone's attention to her. "It is wonderful to meet you and all, Mr. Lieber, but what was it you were saying about my daughter?" "You're right. I'm terribly sorry for getting off track," Stan apologized. "What I was saying is that your daughter's days as a superhero might not necessarily be behind her." "What do you mean?" Cass questioned in confusion. "The people who caused this are in prison. What more is there for them to do?" Cass is actually right. What more is there for them to do? "The day is saved, for sure," Stan agreed with a nod. "But what about tomorrow?" "Tomorrow it will be handled by professionals," Lucy argued. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but there's no such thing as professionals in this business," Stan stated with a chuckle. "The only school any superhero ever went to is the one of hard knocks, and each one of them started out at the same level Riley here did." "So what? You think Riley should be running around in a costume and beating up criminals?" Joe questioned incredulously. "To put it simply, yes, I do. Stan answered with a nod. This is ridiculous, Bill said crossly. Even if we would allow this sort of thing, what you're suggesting is illegal. For now, yes, Stan agreed. But I have it on good authority that the Supers ban will be a thing of the past soon. How do you know all of this? Cass questioned. I have my connections, Stan answered cryptically. Oh, like with Incredibles 2 and the like the plot of Incredibles 2. What if Incredibles 2 is happening at the same time as this story? Or maybe it happens after this. That would be freaking mind-blowing. What if this takes place... I'm getting off track with these theories! Just finish this off. This is ridiculous, Jill said heatedly. You can't possibly suggest that my child should put her life on the line. She already has, Stan retorted. All of our children have. Your son is a grown man, Bill retorted as he glared at Stan. Riley is only 12 years old. Yes, she is, Stan agreed as he turned his attention towards Riley. And what a great burden she's been given at such a young age. But let me ask you this, Stan continued as he turned back to the parents. What would have happened if your daughter hadn't done what she did? How many people would have been killed? How many people would have been hurt? How many would have been killed? Riley's parents offered no reply, and Stan sighed sadly as he took off his glasses and looked at Riley's parents sympathetically. I'm sorry to be the one putting you in this position, Stan said. But I've learned from hard-won experience that power comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but that no matter what form it takes, one thing always holds true. What's that? Riley spoke up for the first time since Stan had entered the room, drawing his attention to her. That power always comes with weight of responsibility, Stan intoned seriously, and with great power comes great responsibility. You sound like you're talking from experience, sir, Wasabi observed. I suppose I am, Stan agreed with a nod as he put his glasses back on. After all, once upon a time, I was standing where you all are standing right now. What do you mean? Gogo questioned. Have you ever heard of Excelsior? Stan asked in reply. The superhero who used to protect San Francisco? Cass questioned. What about him? Wait, Dad, are you saying... Fred began to say, a look of shock and awe spreading across his face. I believe I am, son, Stan answered as he looked at his son and smiled. Whoa! Hero spoke up as he put the pieces together. You were Excelsior? I was, Stan confirmed with a nod as he turned his attention back to Riley's parents. I started out as an inventor, but I realized that instead of just making money off my inventions, I could use them to help people in need. So you were a lot like us, Honey observed. Yes, I see a lot of myself in all of you, Stan stated before he looked at Hero. Especially you, Hero. As Hero smiled at the comment, Stan turned his attention towards Riley. And I see a lot of the friends I made along the way in you, Stan continued. People who were gifted with extraordinary abilities and extraordinary courage. With that, Stan turned his attention back to Riley's parents. That's why I came here today, Stan explained. Not to demand that Riley put her life on the line for others, but to share what I know. And what I know is that, more often than not, people like Riley became heroes after some great tragedy pushed them to do it. Something that forced them to learn to use their powers responsibly. I wanted to see if I could prevent that for her. To give what little wisdom I have without the pain of earning it. I appreciate that, Mr. Lieber, Riley spoke up. But I think it's too late for that. As everyone turned their attention towards Riley, she looked over at Hero. The reason I got involved in all of this was because of what happened to Tadashi, Riley explained. He was my friend, and I was almost broken by my powers when he died. But it also showed me just how much pain comes from losing a loved one. I knew I had to help fix it. Riley paused, pulling her gaze away from Hero and giving Stan a resolute look. And I knew that I couldn't let someone hurt people like that again, Riley continued. Not when I could do something about it. A hush fell over the room as everyone processed what Riley had said. Honey looked like she was fighting back tears as Gogo reached up and laid a hand on the taller woman's shoulder. Jill covered her mouth with her hand as Bill stared at Riley in shock for a moment, before a proud smile spread across his face. After a moment, Hero reached out and took Riley's hand in his, before giving it a small squeeze, causing her to smile at him. With great power comes great responsibility. Riley has learned that lesson throughout the whole story of empathy. And so is everyone else involved in her life. I'm sorry you had to learn that lesson the hard way, Stan said apologetically. I don't know who you think you are, coming in here and demanding that my daughter put her life on the line, Jill snapped as she rounded on Stan. I'm not demanding anything, Stan replied as he held his hands up towards Jill. I've just seen the way the story goes before. Ultimately, the choice is neither of ours. Oh? Jill replied combatively. And whose is it then? It's mine, Riley answered, causing Jill to turn and look at her in shock. Riley, you can't be serious, Jill exclaimed. How can it not be, Mom? Riley argued. People are alive because I was there. You're a child, Jill stated heatedly. A child who can do things that no one else can, Riley retorted. It's like Stan said. I have a responsibility to use my powers to help people. True, Riley. Really true. I don't care what nonsense this stranger has put in your head, Jill snapped. I forbid you from... Jill cut herself off as Bill reached out and laid a hand on her shoulder. Turning her head, Jill regarded her husband in confusion, but Bill said nothing as he focused on Riley. Riley, Bill began before pausing as he thought over what he wanted to say. Do you remember the night of the fire? When I told you I was proud of you for standing up to Alistair Cray? Riley nodded quietly in return. I told you I was proud of you for standing up for your convictions, Bill continued. And I have to say, watching you stand up for them again, willing to put your life on the line for them, I don't think I've felt more proud about anything in my life. Bill! Jill hissed, betrayal creeping into her voice. Jill, you know how she can be, Bill said as he turned his attention towards his wife. We wouldn't be stopping her from doing this. We would just be getting in her way. Bill, she's our daughter, Jill insisted. She's a child. We have to protect her. And we're always going to want to protect her, even when she's no longer a child, Bill retorted. But eventually, we're going to have to accept that we're not always going to be able to protect her. Smiling softly, Bill reached up and touched the bandage on his head. In fact, sometimes she'll have to protect us, he continued. Jill looked stricken as she looked over at Riley. Jill, Bill said as he reached up and gently placed his hand on Jill's face, turning her gaze back to him. Every parent worries if they're raising their child right, but ours is here demanding to be allowed to help people, to make the world a better place. What more evidence do we need that we raise her to be a good person? What more could a parent ask for? For their child to be safe, Jill argued, though much of the heat had left her voice. I'll keep her safe, Hero spoke up. A hush fell over the room, and Hero felt his face heat up as everyone turned their attention towards him. I mean, Hero mumbled as he recomposed himself, I care about Riley. A lot. Hero trailed off as he looked over at Riley, who smiled warmly at him, causing him to blush again. Riley's not the only person who wants to help people, Hero explained. I found out that I can use what I know to help people too, and if she's going to be out there saving people, then so am I. Turning towards Cass, a resolute look fell across Hero's features. And Cass, I know, Hero began to say. Your parents will be so proud of you, Cass said quickly, interrupting Hero. What? Hero asked, caught off guard by the statement. I don't know you don't remember much of your parents, Cass explained as tears began to well up in her eyes. I just wanted you to know that your parents would be proud of what you've done and what you're going to do, just like I am. As Hero stared at her in surprise, Cass walked over to her nephew and crouched in front of him. And I think we both know how Tadashi would feel, Cass added before she leaned forward and embraced Hero, who happily returned the hug. Hero won't be the only one, Tip spoke up. I'm going to help too. Tip, Lucy said, a worried tone in her voice. Didn't you see me out there, Mom? Tip questioned as she turned towards Lucy. I don't have a genius brain or superpowers, but I was still able to help. I found something I was really good at, and I helped people doing it. You saw that, right? Lucy looked at her daughter for a long moment before she smiled. I did, baby girl, Lucy answered, her voice barely above a whisper. And you were magnificent. As Jill watched the scene unfold with a shocked expression, she felt another hand placed on her shoulder. Turning, she found Gogo looking down at her with a serious expression. Mr. Anderson. Miss Anderson, Gogo started, before pausing as she rethought her statement. Jill, I promise you that I would die before I let something happen to Riley. That goes for all of us, Honey added as Wasabi and Fred nodded in agreement. I will be helpings as well, O exclaimed before turning sheepish as everyone looked at him. Or at least not be making things the worst. Smiling softly at the move, Jill turned her attention back towards Riley. As she made eye contact with her daughter, Jill reached out and took Riley's hand in hers. You know I love you more than anything, right? Jill questioned. Of course, Riley replied with a small chuckle as she blinked back tears. I don't need superpowers to know that. Jill chuckled in reply and took a moment to wipe at her eyes, before lifting Riley's hand up and kissing her fingers. Then I want you to know that I'm proud of you too, Jill continued. And I'm sure I'll be proud of what you and your friends are going to do. Riley positively beamed at her mother and squeezed her clasped hands. Well then, it sounds like all of your minds are made up, Stan said with a wide grin, bringing everyone's attention back to him. A real group of true believers. Now, I'm just an old, washed-up hero, but I think I still have a thing or two I can teach you. Old? Washed up? Dude, you may be old, but you are far more than washed up. You are a freaking legend! A legend you are, a legend you will always be, forever until the end of time. Stan paused as he looked around the room. So what do you say, true believers? Stan all but dared them. Are you kidding, Dad? Fred exclaimed. I've been waiting for this day my whole life. It's what Tadashi would have wanted, Honey stated with a determined nod. Well, Yuri, what do you say? Wasabi questioned as he held his hand up to her. Sure, Gogo replied with a nonchalant shrug as she took his hand. But only because you're cute. Gogo and Wasabi are finally a thing! I'm down if I don't have to drive a beat-up old man anymore, Tip stated. Hey! Wasabi replied indignantly. The truth hurts, Tip answered with a shrug. I has been mentally sketching out an enhanced version of the vehicle I can make, O stated. I'm calling it Slushius. Oh, Slushius, that's a good name! Oh man, we are absolutely not calling our team vehicle Slushius, Hero stated with a chuckle. And I better help you with that so you don't go accidentally giving someone else superpowers. I too would like to be of assistance, Baymax spoke up. Once I have my body back, that is. That's the first thing on my to-do list, pal, Hero stated before looking at Riley. What about you, Riley? We can't do this without our only super. Riley was quiet for a moment as she looked around the room at her friends and family. Then, taking a deep, calming breath, she closed her eyes. What do you guys think? Riley asked her emotions. Sounds dangerous, Fear admitted. And we might fail, Sadness added. People could get hurt. But more people could get hurt if we don't, Disgust argued. And could we live with ourselves if that happened? You already know how I feel about knocking around some bad guys, Anger said with almost sadistic glee as he popped his knuckles. We're with you, Riley, Joyce stated firmly. Every step of the way. Riley opened her eyes and looked at Stan with a fierce determination. Where do I sign up? She questioned, her grin threatening to split her face. Oh! This is a much better ending! Author's note. And Finn. So this turned out to be a long one, but I said I would finish the story up with one last chapter, and I meant it. Thanks again to all of you for sticking with me through this story. It was your love for it that kept me going. I hope you all like the conclusion, and as for what is to come, I have a few after-credits scenes to give you all a hint of what's to come. So as always, feedback and critiques are always welcome, so please review. Later, true believers! Post-credit scenes, eh? Well, want to have a read from them, guys? Alright, let's go. Classified location. A man stood in a dimly lit meeting chamber in between a long table and a display screen. He was an unassuming, middle-aged man with short brown hair, brown eyes, and stubble on his dour face. He wore a simple, dark gray suit over a white button-up and a black tie. We understand you have some important information for us, Agent Dicker, a cultured British accent said, coming from the heavy-set man in a brown suit sitting at the table. It had better be, Rick, a hard, gravely voice added, coming from the tough-looking man in the United States Army uniform. You might have noticed our schedule's been a little busy lately. I have, General Munger. The man, Agent Rick Dicker replied with a deep, sonorous voice. I appreciate you and Director Ramsbottom taking the time to meet with me, especially since it concerns recent events. So you know what happened in San Francisco? Ramsbottom questioned. More or less, Rick answered. We know that our new guest in Area 51 is the main cause, with the help of a new supervillain. As Rick spoke, the display screen behind him showed images of the Gorg and yokai. We know the villain, who the media have taken to calling yokai, is actually robotic scientist and teacher Professor Robert Callahan. Rick continued as an image of Callahan was imposed next to yokai. He apparently faked his death in order to steal some technology to help the alien. Something called the Gorg, who had kidnapped his daughter. He's currently in San Francisco Penitentiary, awaiting trial for his crimes. Sounds like this was all wrapped up with a nice little bow for us, Monger commented. We have any info on the folks who took him down? Not as much as we'd like. Rick answered as the screen changed to various blurry images of the group. We haven't managed to track down their real identities yet, nor the exact nature of their powers. How many are supers? Ramsbottom inquired. Our best guess? Rick replied with a sigh. One for certain. Only one? Monger questioned in shock as he sat forward in his chair. You sure? We're also pretty sure another one is an alien, Rick replied with a shrug. Probably one of those boobs who showed up with the Gorg. Beyond that, we have their overall look and build to help track them down. For now, their files are under the names the media has given them. And what would those be? Ramsbottom inquired. At the director's word, the screen changed 9 headshots in a grid pattern, clearly drawn by a forensic sketch artist. Under each picture read a name. Hero was Excelsior. Woo-hoo-hoo! Nice! Heroes inherited the name Excelsior from Stanley! Cool! Hero was Excelsior, Baymax was Big Guy, Fred was Kaiju, Wasabi was Laserblade, Gogo was Torque, Honey was Miss Chemistry, Riley was Kitsune. You forgot the Shiro at the end, at the start of Kitsune. It's Shiro Kitsune. Riley was Shiro Kitsune, Tip was the driver, and O was Fix-It. Over the whole image was a title reading Big Hero 9. Catchy, Monger commented with a snort. Isn't Excelsior already taken? He's retired, Rick answered with a shrug. And you know how much people love legacies. So what is this all about, Agent Dicker? Ramsbottom questioned. You don't seem to have much information to give us. I'm here to ask permission to activate the initiative, Rick answered. This again, huh? Monger questioned with wry amusement as Ramsbottom let out an aggravated sigh. As we've explained to you before, Agent Dicker, as much as you don't like it, the Super's ban is still in effect, Ramsbottom stated irately. It is up to the Anti-Villain League to protect the world from supervillain threats. And with all due respect, sir, it hasn't exactly worked out for us, has it? Rick questioned as his own ire finally began to rise. Egypt robbed of its monuments, the moon stolen out from under our noses, and now a portal opens up over San Francisco and dumps an alien warship on their doorstep, and we weren't able to do anything about it, just like last time. General Monger, Rick continued as he turned his attention towards the other man. I know you're on my side with this. It was your plan to let the monsters fight Galaxar when he attacked. I'm sure you can see the sense in this. You're right, Rick, Monger confirmed with a nod, causing Ramsbottom to whirl around and look at him. You have my vote of confidence. You can't be serious, Ramsbottom sputtered.
Look, Silas, I know that the AVL is your baby, but you're going to have to accept that it's a failure as it is, Munger stated. Ever since the Supers ban, villains have been running rampant, and that's besides the fact the ban is only nominally recognized anymore. I mean, hell, we never even got Metro Man to respect it in the first place.
I'm curious, who is Ramsbottom? I don't think he was in any of the 3 movies. Was he in Megamind or... Alright, Agent Dicker, Ramsbottom said with an aggravated sigh. What exactly do you plan to do with this initiative of yours? Simple, Director, Rick replied with a grin. We bring them all in. As Rick spoke up, the image changed to a larger grid, adding more headshots to bring the number up to 21. The new pictures included the bulky blonde masked man, a masked woman with auburn hair, a young masked woman with lanky black hair, a masked teenage boy with windswept blonde hair, a masked boy, an African-American man with a blue and white cowl, a white-haired young woman, a scaly fish-like creature, a face that was a mixture between a man's and a cockroach, a gelatinous creature with a single eye, the face of a furry, moth-like creature, and a man with blue skin and a bulbous head. The Incredibles with Jack Jack and Frozone. Ginormica, otherwise known as Susan. The Missing Link. Dr. Cockroach. Bob. Insectosaurus. And Megamind. Oh my god, this is a shared universe like I thought before! I've never even freaking seen Megamind, and I know zero about Ramsbottom, but... Oh my god, I've got to start seeing these films! This is incredible! Bring them all in? Ramsbottom questioned as he looked over the image with a furrowed brow. It's like the General said, Rick explained. The Supers ban is only nominally enforced, so even the biggest stuffed shirt shouldn't have a problem with a team of supers working for the AVL. Have our cake and eat it too, Munger observed with a chuckle. I like it. All that's left is the Devers, and maybe the next story will be similar to The Incredibles 2, with supers coming back. I can see the logic in it, Ramsbottom commented with a sigh. Very well, Agent Dicker. We'll give your initiative a shot on a trial basis. But know this, if this falls through, it won't be my head on the chopping block. Of course, sir, Rick stated dryly. Dismissed, Ramsbottom stated as he eyed Rick in irritation while Munger chuckled to himself. Rick nodded and left without another word. Stepping out into a hall lit by fluorescent bulbs, Rick found a pair of women waiting for him. One had bright red hair tied up in a bun, while the other had long platinum blonde hair that hung free. Both were dressed in suits the same shade as Rick's own. Agent Wild, Rick greeted with a nod and a dull tone. Agent Mirage. Hey, Rick, Wild said cheerfully. How did the meeting go? Mirage asked with smooth, almost enigmatic tone. Rick said nothing for a moment as he looked between the two women. The initiative is go, Rick stated as he turned and began walking down the hall. Really? Wild questioned exactly as a half-smile spread across Mirage's face. Together the two followed behind Rick and fell into step behind him. So what do we do now? Mirage inquired. Now? Rick asked, adjusting his tie as he allowed a small smirk to pull at his lips. Now, we get to work. San Francisco Penitentiary.
Callahan! The guard standing outside his cell bellowed, causing Robert Callahan, now dressed in a bright orange prison jumpsuit, to look up from where he had been sat on his bunk. You got a visitor! Blinking in surprise, Callahan quickly stood up and walked over to the cell door. Is it my daughter? He asked breathlessly. Do I look like a messenger boy? The guard questioned hostilely. Hands, now! At the guard's order, Callahan put his hands through the bars of the cell, allowing the guard to cuff them together before he opened the door and began leading Callahan through the cell block. After a few minutes, they reached the door to the meeting room. Stopping at the door, the guard opened it before shoving Callahan through and closing it behind him. Callahan blinked in surprise at the guard's strange behavior. Wasn't he supposed to be in here with Callahan? And as he looked around, the former professor realized that the room was empty and mostly dark. Looking around, Callahan observed the bank of desks with bulletproof glasses between them. As he did, he could make out a lone figure sitting at one of the desks, its features obscured by shadow. Abigail? Robert questioned, but received no reply. Hesitantly, Callahan walked over to the desk and sat down at it, trying his best to make out something about the other person through the dim light. As Callahan watched, the figure reached out and picked up the receiver on its side of the glass, prompting him to do the same. Hello? Robert questioned nervously. Hello, Professor Callahan, the figure said, its voice terribly distorted, sounding like a mixture between someone with an electric larynx and a text-to-speech program. Sorry, I'm sure you were expecting someone else. Who are you? Callahan questioned. A friend, the figure answered. Or, at least, I hope to be one. What do you want? Callahan pressed. An even exchange, the figure explained. You help me and some other friends of mine, and I'll get you out of here. I don't want to get out of here, Callahan argued. I deserve to be here. How noble, the figure replied, his electronic voice dripping with contempt. That was the easy way. But we can do it the hard way if you want. The hard way? Callahan asked as dread began to grip his heart. I could give little Abigail a visit, the figure explained. I'm sure together, the two of us could convince you. You bastard! Callahan snarled as he leapt to his feet. You stay away from my daughter, or I swear... Callahan was cut off as the figure slammed his hand against the glass, causing the whole desk to shake. With his hand pressed against the glass, Callahan could see that the hand was mechanical with an almost skeletal appearance. Sit down, the figure demanded, his anger causing its voice to become filled with what sounded like static. Callahan obeyed. Oh my. These post-credit scenes are so cool. I don't want to involve your daughter, the figure explained. It's terribly cliché to use another villain's methods. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander, I suppose. I'll do it, Callahan said quickly. Whatever you want, I'll do it, okay? Just leave Abigail alone. She suffered enough because of me. See? I knew you could be reasonable, the figure said with a pleased tone. What do you want me to do? Callahan asked. For now, nothing, the figure explained as it shifted in his seat. You'll know what to do when the time comes. Callahan's blood had run cold as he continued to watch the figure.
his shift in position revealing a glowing red light where one of his eyes should be. "I'm so happy we're going to be able to work together, Professor," the figure said, his glowing electronic eye seeming to stare into Callahan's soul. "We're going to have a lot of fun together." Very interesting. And with that, that's taken a whole hour to do this video, and with it, that is a grand enough finale. That's it. I've officially managed to read all 36 chapters of Empathy from start to finish in the span of a year. I'm so happy for those who managed to watch it all the way with me, and for those who haven't, please go all the way back to the first video I've done and then continue reading all the way from there. I did this whole series from start to finish and put it on YouTube so that many people around the world would be able to see the story for themselves and share it with others. And I hope I can continue to do so in the future. There is a sequel to Empathy, but like I said before, in a previous video, I'm going to do another fanfic based off of a certain show that I've quickly become a fan of after rediscovering it from years ago. The story that I'm going to read next is called The Animals of Farthing Wood, Journey of the Heart. Oh wait, let me show you. Yep, it's called The Animals of Farthing Wood. The Animals of Farthing Wood, The Journey of a Lifetime. And it is written by 14 Sleepyhead09. But, Finmonster, thank you so much for doing this series. It truly was an incredible ride. You are possibly the greatest story writer that I've ever seen on this channel. I'm glad that I get to share your work around here. And I hope that your sequel story could be just about as good as this one. And with the shared universe coming together, it looks like it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to see what it's all about one day. But, until the next time, I'm the Masked Ranger. Keep moving forward, and never lose your smile, no matter what happens. See you again, guys. Bye-bye.